Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Evangelist Nick Garrett channel. Oh, if you wouldn't mind, please like, dislike, or comment. Not because you agree with everything I say or think I'm great. That's how you survive on YouTube today. I'd appreciate that help. Today we're getting deeper into the nativity. There's so much objectivity surrounding it. I'm going to read first from Matthew chapter 2. We're going to learn about Herod and why he took the actions he did. And before we get into it, I want to teach you something new about how to read the Bible. I have this mental exercise I go through where I say, okay, if this event were unfolding on today's news, what would it look like? We have a tendency to think things happen a certain way today, but back then it was different and the details worked quite differently. Human nature has never changed though. So let's try to bring some detail to this narrative so that people's motives and actions make complete sense, and these things that seem so supernatural they're untouchable will even make sense. Wise men from the east, Matthew chapter 2. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea. I'm going to pop a map on the screen to show you. There's a perception we have that back then Palestine, Israel, it was all one thing. It really wasn't. Galilee was broken into a small region, roughly in the north. Underneath it was Samaria. Jerusalem was actually below Samaria and above Idumea. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, he was an antipater. He wasn't even a Jew. How does a non-Jew become king of the Jewish people? Well, Herod's grandfather had gone to war with the Romans against the Egyptians, and they defeated the Egyptians. So as a political spoil system, the Antipater family was given rule over this region that we know today as Israel. And he wasn't a bona fide Jewish king, so naturally he was quite paranoid when what happened next happened. Behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who has been born king of the Jews?" To Herod they said this. "Hey Herod, where's the king of the Jews?" Oh, can't you imagine that Herod has a little bit of an issue with this because he's not a Jew and he's the king? And here are these wise men from the east, not the far east like Asia. They came from Arabia. They're his own people. How do we know this? Because his father was an Idumean, I-D-U-M-E-A-N, and his mother was Arabian. And the wise men came from Arabia, just across the border in Nabatea, somewhere in that region. And they came because they saw this weird light in the sky that had not previously been there. Let's read a few things of what was said about this star from the early church fathers. How then was he manifested to the world? A star shone forth in heaven above all the other stars. The light from this star was inexpressible, and its uniqueness struck men with astonishment. This came from Ignatius, circa 105. Justin Martyr tells us that at the time of his birth, Magi came from Arabia, Herod's mother's people, and worshipped him. When the child was born in Bethlehem, since Joseph could not find an inn at the village, he took up his lodging in a certain cave near the village. While they were there, Mary brought forth the Christ and placed him in a manger. Here, the Magi who came from Arabia found him. Origin. It was not any of the constellations existing in the sky that was made to be done the star of the east. Rather, it was something of another order, appointed for the purpose and in the service of the knowledge of Jesus. Origin, circa 228 AD. One more. The star that was seen in the sky in the east, we consider to have been a new star, unlike any of the order of well-known planetary bodies. Yet it had the nature of those celestial bodies that appear at times, such as comets. It's been observed that on the occurrence of great events and of mighty changes in earthly things, such stars are apt to appear, indicating either the removal of dynasties or the breaking out of wars. There is a prophecy of Balaam recorded by Moses to this effect. There will arise a star out of Jacob, and a man will rise up out of Israel. That's Origin, circa 248 AD. So now let's look at Herod again. Not a Jewish native, third generation political spoil king. His mother's people come into his court and say, "Hey, where's this king of the Jews? We saw the sign in the sky." You think Herod's courtiers didn't see the sign in the sky and wonder? He said that back then they knew this meant war. This meant the fall of a dynasty. That's why Herod's reacting the way he's reacting. Let's read on. Where is he who has been born king of the Jews? For he's seen a star in the east, and we've come to worship him. Interesting. How did they know? Even them in Arabia, they knew. Okay, well, there must be a new king or war. Let's go find out what it be. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he gathered all the chief priests and scribes and the people together, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. So why did Herod do that? Why did he invite the scribes and priests? And why does it say all of Jerusalem? If they knew about it, wouldn't they want a Jewish king? This sign in the sky points to the... No. When you're occupied by Rome, leave everything alone. We don't want violence. So the temple culture and Herod have this tacit agreement where it's like, look, status quo, just leave everything alone. Don't rock the boat. And now Herod's own mother's people come and say, hey, guess what? Where is he? Show us that we can worship him. So they said to him in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, but you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. Oh, the timing's terrible. We're under Roman occupation. Why does this have to happen now? Now, the regular everyday people, as Luke tells us, the shepherds washing their flocks, they're not in the high court of Herod figuring this stuff out. They're just living their day-to-day life, probably in poverty. The message of hope is for them. There will be a king. Your life will change. You will be okay. Then Herod, when he had secretly called the wise men, determined from them what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go and search carefully for the young child. And when you have found him, bring back word to me that I may come and worship him too. Right, Herod. That's what you're going to do. Come and worship him too. When they heard the king, they departed, and behold, the star which they had seen in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. We heard from the early church fathers, and that it was a well-known fact hundreds of years after, that this was the cave where Jesus was born. One of the church fathers says even the enemies of Christ knew this was the cave where he was born, and he was placed in a manger, a feeding trough of animals. What kind of animals? All our nativities have lambs and sheep and oxes, and why do they have it? Well, the Jewish sacrificial system. Born among the animals, sacrificed to forgive the sins of people, is the God-man himself, and he's placed in the very feeding trough of these animals. Oh, can't you see the symbolism in this? And when they had come to the house, and they saw the young child with Mary his mother, come to the house, not the cave, not the manger. They say the Magi actually ended up finding him, well after the fact. The child might have even been up to a year old by this point. And they fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, myrrh. Then, being divinely warned in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed for their own country another way. I hope that helps you to understand the true stakes of what's going on here. And this is very much like today. Those with power want to keep power. Whether it's Herod, the politically appointed king, or the chief priests and scribes and the temple culture and the courtiers in Jerusalem, leave everything alone. We've got a deal worked out with Rome. Everything's good. There's not wars. People aren't being killed. But then there's this strange sign in the sky that people know of. And in every ruler's court, you have some courtier going, yes, sire, war is called for, or a new king will rise, and a Jewish king, You can see these things, right? These things happen every day. There are modern examples of this, right? The talking heads on mainstream TV. Well, I think this, that, and the other are going to happen, and we're going to see this, that, and the other. How many channels on YouTube talk, the economy's going to collapse, yet it never quite does. Nibiru, the red planet, wormwood, it's coming. It's on a 360 or 3,600 year elliptical cycle, and it's going to whack into Earth again, right? All these things still exist today. We say them today. Put it in the context of what you know human interactions to be like. Doesn't that help this whole story make a lot more sense? Now, you know what? Maybe before we go, we'll look at Luke and read from the perspective of the impoverished, those shepherds out watching their flocks at night. This comes from chapter 2. Christ born of Mary. And it came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. And they were. We know it. Thank you, Tertullian, who tells us that you did the research of the records only a few hundred years older than you, and you found Mary in the census. That's a good objective fact. The census first took place while Quirinius was governing Syria. So all went to be registered, everyone to his own city. Joseph also went up from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem. Because he was of the house of the lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed wife, who was with child. So it was, and while they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them at the inn. Now there were in the same country shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flocks by night. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were greatly afraid. Then the angel said to them, "Don't be afraid, for behold, I bring good tidings of great joy, which will be to all people. For there is born to you this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be the sign to you. You will find a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men." We see this fully manifested in the ministry of Jesus Christ in the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the peacemakers. How are the shepherds to find this great wonder? Let's just follow that. Just like we heard the Magi were doing. So it was, when the angels had gone away to heaven, that the shepherds said to one another, "Let's now go to Bethlehem and see this thing that has come to pass, which the Lord has made known to us." Funny how he didn't tell Herod. He told the shepherds in the fields. He told Herod through the Magi, the pagan Magi from another land, another religion altogether. But he tells the salt of the earth directly. That's beautiful. And they came with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in a manger. Now when they had seen him, they made widely known the saying which was told to them concerning the child. And all those who heard it marveled at those things which were told to them by the shepherds. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. Then the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things that they had heard and seen as it was told to them. I hope you loved that as much as I loved delivering it. You all are my friends, and I love sharing this stuff with you. It makes me glow. All right, a few commercial announcements. We have a PayPal, $1, $2, $3, very easy to use. Link in the description. Don't even think you have to be registered. I use that money to buy groceries for my family. You can purchase one of the books I've written, Amazon.com/author/Nicholas Garrett. Shipwrecked in the Land of King Tobacco, the first Washington family immigrant to America, is there for paperback or for your Kindle. One of the 3 of the Just Tell Me the Truth About Christianity series. You've been hearing me say for 2 years, Just Tell Me the Truth About the Reformation and Counter-Reformation is in the works, and it is. My conclusion continues to evolve. I don't want to put it out too early, which is why I haven't yet. Sorry. You can also purchase mugs. I like my Truth First Christianity mug with the cross of St. Andrew on the back. You can get, various t-shirts and masks. They're all down below. You can become a channel member. You can visit my website at EvangelistNickGarrett.com. God bless you, and may your work today bear fruit. God, please be enough for us today. Thank you for opening our eyes to this beautiful lesson about the Nativity and why it's important to know it. Guide us in the way that we should go. Guide our words that they might be useful. Bless us with gratitude to counter the responsibilities of being here. Bless each and every one of my friends, especially my dozen or so regulars whom I communicate with regularly. God, please bless those who have given this week. as recently as last night, where we brought in $20 more. If it be your will, please bless us. And if you're considering tithing or giving a contribution, go to God in prayer. Say, hey, is it cool? He'll let you know. I trust God completely. My life is in His hands, and I care very much about you. And I'll see you next time. May your work today bear fruit. Thanks.